I never thought a simple after-school discussion could change everything. Literature had always been my escape, a place where emotions made sense. And maybe that's why I admired him, Mr. Lawson. He wasn't just a teacher. He had a way of making words come alive, of turning a classroom into something more than a room with desks and books. It started with extra help sessions. I wasn't struggling, but I wanted to understand more, go deeper into the meaning behind stories. He noticed. "You have an analytical mind," he said one evening as I stayed behind while others rushed out. His voice carried warmth, the kind that made you feel seen. At first, it was just conversations about books. Hemingway, Fitzgerald, the tragedies of love and loss. But then, it shifted. He started asking about my dreams, what I wanted beyond school. No teacher had ever cared like that. It felt different. One afternoon, I found myself alone in the classroom with him again. The golden light from the window softened the air between us. I was talking about a passage I loved when he interrupted. "You remind me of myself at your age." His eyes held something I couldn't quite name. I laughed nervously. "I doubt that." He shook his head. "No, really." Passionate, searching for something more. His gaze lingered, and for the first time, I felt it, a shift, an invisible line bending. From that moment, everything changed. I started looking forward to those moments, those lingering conversations. I told myself it was admiration, respect, nothing more. But deep down, I knew better. One evening, as the classroom emptied, I hesitated at the door. "Do you ever regret becoming a teacher?" He smiled, leaning against his desk. "Sometimes. But then, I meet students like you, who remind me why I love it." The words settled into me, warm and reassuring. I felt special, like I mattered in a way I hadn't before. But I didn't know then, special didn't always mean safe. The days blurred into quiet conversations, stolen moments after class, when the halls had emptied. I told myself it was normal, just a student and a teacher discussing literature, nothing more. But something in the way he spoke to me, the way he held my gaze a little longer than necessary, made it impossible to ignore the weight of unspoken words between us. He started sharing things about himself, how he once dreamed of being a writer but life had other plans, how he sometimes felt trapped by expectations. I listened, captivated, feeling like I was being led into a world no one else had seen. "You're different," he said one evening, his voice low, almost hesitant. "Most people don't understand the way words can change you. But you do." I should have brushed it off, but I didn't. Those words stayed with me, settling into my thoughts, making me wonder if I meant more to him than just another student. And maybe, just maybe, he meant more to me too. One evening, a storm rolled in, forcing me to stay longer than usual. The classroom felt smaller, quieter, as the rain beat against the windows. "You can wait here until it clears," he said, offering a rare smile. We sat in silence for a while, the only sound the distant rumble of thunder. Then he spoke. "Sometimes I think about the what-ifs in life, the paths we don't take." His voice was soft, careful. I swallowed hard, unsure what to say. "Like what?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "Never mind." But I knew what he meant. I felt it in the way he looked at me, in the way his fingers tapped restlessly against his desk as if holding something back. My heart pounded, confused, excited, terrified all at once. A part of me wanted to believe it was harmless, that I was imagining things. But another part, a deeper, quieter part, knew this wasn't just admiration anymore. And as the storm raged outside, something else stirred inside me, something I wasn't ready to name. Something changed after that night. He became distant, more careful. In class, he barely looked at me, his usual warmth replaced by something unreadable. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing, that I was imagining the shift. But deep down, I knew better. Then the whispers started. Quiet at first, passing comments in the hallway, the kind that made my stomach twist. I caught pieces of them, his name, another girl's name, the same stories, the same after-class moments. I told myself it was a mistake, that I was overthinking. But doubt had already taken root, spreading like poison. It wasn't until I saw the messages that everything unraveled. I hadn't meant to look. My friend was scrolling through her phone, laughing at something, when a familiar name flashed across the screen. Curiosity turned to dread as I read the words. His words. The same careful compliments, the same thoughtful questions, the same sense of importance he had once given me. Only now they weren't meant for me. My hands shook as I processed it. I had believed I was different, that what we had was unique. But I wasn't the exception. I was just one of many. I waited after class, my heart pounding in my chest. He barely glanced at me as I approached his desk. Did any of it mean anything? The words felt foreign, too vulnerable. He exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. You're young. I was just trying to help. The final blow came not in what he said, but how he said it, dismissive, like I had imagined it all. Like it had never mattered. I walked out without another word, the weight of betrayal settling in my chest. I had trusted him, believed in something that was never real. And now, all that remained was the bitter truth. I had never been special. I had only been convenient. The days that followed felt hollow. I replayed every moment, every word, searching for signs I had missed. How had I let myself believe in something that was never real? The betrayal wasn't just in what he had done, but in how easily he had discarded me, like I was nothing more than another passing moment in his life. At first, I wanted answers, closure, something to make sense of it all. But the truth was, I already had my answer. He had never cared, not in the way I had convinced myself he did. I had been a distraction, a temporary ego boost, and when it no longer suited him, he moved on without hesitation. The hurt turned into anger, but even that felt exhausting. I stopped waiting for explanations and started focusing on what I could control, myself. I poured my emotions into writing, turning my pain into something tangible, something I could own. The classroom that once felt like a sanctuary became just another room, and he became just another lesson learned the hard way. Weeks passed before I saw him again outside of class. He greeted me like nothing had happened, as if we were still the same student and teacher discussing books and dreams. But I wasn't the same anymore. I saw through the charm, the carefully chosen words, the false sense of connection. I didn't need revenge or a dramatic confrontation. I just needed to move forward. So when he smiled and asked how I was doing, I simply met his gaze, nodded, and walked away. He was a chapter one had finished, a story that no longer held power over me. I had let myself believe in an illusion, but illusions fade. And in their place, reality stands stronger. I wasn't broken. I wasn't lost. I was just beginning.